as your team gets ready to play in L.A. against the vaunted Rams on Sunday Night Football. But it was so weird to walk out on that practice field. It's cold as hell, by the way. Now, they didn't do much, and it was a walkthrough of sorts after they did a little bit of conditioning to start. But I would tell you that watching Adrian Peterson and Julio Jones side by side running drills, even as menial as they might be, at the Titans practice facility is one of the most bizarre feelings that I've ever experienced. He's going to talk to the media today, Adrian Peterson is. That is, and so we'll carry a little bit of that live for you. Thursdays are normally Derrick Henry's day at the podium. Instead, it will be AD. But that's not the lead today. The lead today is what is happening in the NFL. Now, when we started the show, Aaron Rodgers' situation, him testing positive for COVID-19, that had just come out, and we kind of documented that throughout the course of the day and throughout the course of the 3 hours. And it was like, I mean, it was probably the top story among the stories to come out. But you have Odell Beckham Jr., his dad's basically shooting their way out of the Cleveland Browns organization and criticizing Baker Mayfield to the point where Baker Mayfield is having to answer questions publicly about why Odell's dad thinks Baker sucks. You've got the travesty of the Henry Ruggs situation swirling around everything, and Derek Carr having to answer questions about that today in a really cool human moment from Derek Carr, and perhaps we'll be able to find that audio. Lucas, I know I didn't tell you that, or that I wanted to use that earlier, but that I thought that what was put out today from Derek Carr is really, really must listen, and so we'll probably have that for you later on in the show. You have what's happening with Deshaun Watson that really went under the radar, really slid through the cracks of everything. Sarah Barshop of ESPN had a great report on the fact that they almost had a settlement between Deshaun Watson and the 22 victims basically, and talks fell apart at the last second. So now they're going to court, and that's why he didn't get traded. Remember, that was what the Dolphins were requesting. Some kind of resolution on the Deshaun Watson situation one way or the other so that they could make their decision. And then basically Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, was wanting to know if he was in fact found guilty, if they traded for him anyway, how long his suspension might be. That almost happened, and apparently talks fell apart in the final minutes. And all of this is swirling around when the NBA is trying to get off the ground, the NHL is clawing for air, and baseball just gets completely buried yesterday. It is so interesting to me, and we talked about this with David Sampson on Tuesday, former Marlins team president who despises, or as a former executive, when he was in his place as the Marlins team president, despised the Dolphins for what the NFL did to the baseball news cycle.
And now he roots for the Dolphins because they make the Marlins look bad.
Well, and because Derek Jeter, he didn't even call it. He didn't even say Derek Jeter. He just spat Jeter into the phone when he was on the phone with us, which makes me so happy. When Jeter fired me, and Jeter doesn't know what he's doing. It was delightful. I hope I want to talk more baseball just to have David Sampson back on the radio. That was a lot of fun. But what I saw today and what I witnessed yesterday was an overwhelming just suffocation of the news cycle by one leak. And this is not new. This is not groundbreaking. But I was trying to figure out a way to phrase this because the Ruggs situation is an entity unto itself. It is an incredible tragedy. We spent some time talking about that yesterday during the dumbest thing in sports. And I struggle to articulate this, and Lucas had to back me off a couple times on the phone because I could not help include Ruggs into the NFL news cycle and say, man, this still seems good for the NFL's business, even as it is a great tragedy and nobody is celebrating what happened to the victim in the Henry Ruggs situation. It just keeps the NFL front of mind, good or bad. Happy or sad, right?
Well, because it's not on the NFL, right? They've put things in place to prevent this.
Yeah, but now Derek Carr's press conference is must-watch television.
Right.
Now this is continuing to feed the NFL news cycle. It's disgusting. It's gross. and also I want to watch it. It really, and we've talked about, what do you look to the NFL for outside of just entertainment? Are you looking to these quote unquote leaders of men to give you guiding principles for your life? Maybe you do, maybe some can, but for the most part, it's, these are professional athletes. These are not philosophical geniuses. When my guy with the Washington football team, what's his name? Montez Sweat, the only person that I'm willing to call an idiot with this whole COVID situation because he just didn't know what a vaccine was. I don't care how you feel about the vaccine one way or the other. If you just fundamentally don't understand what a vaccine is, I don't care what you have to say, and nor should people be spreading that around, no pun intended. But OBJ, Henry Ruggs, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson completely dominated this situation. And the only life that the NBA can get is what's happening on First Take right now. How does Rodgers compare to Kyrie Irving's situation? Because he's straight up not playing games for the Brooklyn Nets right now because of his unwillingness to get vaccinated. And it's a state law in New York, if you're going to be inside of their building, that you have to be vaccinated.
And that's by far the biggest news in the NBA over the last month.
That's it. I felt bad for Ja Morant because they put on a show last night, and Ja Morant is tweeting out, our games are must-see television, and nobody's watching, Ja, because it's football season. It's November. I will start. I'm a basketball fan. I love basketball. It's my favorite sport as a fan by a mile, and it pales in comparison to what the NFL and how the NFL just sucks the air out of everything that's happening across the sports spectrum. Derek R. on YouTube says the NBA is boring because of the drama queens all over the league. But that's an interesting conversation, because I think, Derek, that football is an attraction unto itself, the product on the field, yes, but the drama around the NFL is basically the same as what's happening in the NBA. The difference, I think, is with the NBA is because of the way that the television contracts have made even menial players multimillionaires. They are so unrelatable. They seem so far out of touch with normal people, right? Whereas football players, you have a more diverse collection of individuals. The wealth is much more top-heavy in the NFL. So you do have your superstars. You do have your Derrick Henry, your Odell Beckham Jr., your Patrick Mahomes, but there's also, for every Derrick Henry, there's like 6 Josh Kleins, right? Anybody remember Josh Klein, former Titans right guard? Was just a lump of humanity, respectfully.
And who's more dramatic than Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown?
Oh, diva wide receiver. Throw me the damn ball. Keyshawn Johnson has a nationally televised and simulcast streamed radio show on ESPN because of who Keyshawn Johnson is as a personality. Randy Moss is heavily featured across ESPN's properties. There are so many different elements of this. There's just as much drama in the NFL as there is in the NBA. The difference, though, is that the NBA is so much more concentrated. Like there's no middle class, there's no lower class. It's just the best of the best. So when we come back, we're going to hone in on one of these stories specifically, because what happened with Deshaun Watson on trade deadline day, what almost happened with Deshaun Watson and what kind of fell through is a fascinating story. And I want to dive into the details on what Sarah Barshop of ESPN reported. We'll do that on the other side. Your phone calls as well. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in on the conversation. A lot of Titans talk coming your way this hour, too. You'll hear from Ryan Tannehill later on in the show. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Brett Doherty, Dawn Davenport, and Ron Schley give you compelling things in sports to think about, along with, well, other things.
So you count eggs as poultry because it comes from a chicken? Is it not protein? You got to answer the question.
No, I feel like you're finagling.
No, I'm not. You got to answer the question, Babs. Is chicken and eggs the same thing?
No.
When Rocky says, I'm going to take a glass of protein, what does he get?
Oh, he did get an egg. Wrong.
You're all welcome. Nashville and everyone listening, you're all welcome.
The 3HL, today, starting at 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
almost completely unnoticed, which sucks for Sarah Barshop because it's great reporting that she's done. But they met with Nick Caserio, the Houston media did. He's the general manager of the Texans, if you were unaware. Obviously, Watson did not get moved, but the reason why Watson did not get moved, I think, is infinitely more interesting. So this is a day after the NFL trade deadline. Nick Caserio is probably sick of this stuff at this point. He's been answering questions about a player who hasn't played for him during his entire tenure as the Houston Texans general manager. He talked for 27 minutes yesterday and almost exclusively was asked about Watson's future with the franchise, trade discussions with the Dolphins that fizzled out, and the legal situation, the very, very serious legal situation that Deshaun Watson is currently mired in. This is the quote. "I don't really want to comment on something that is out of my control. So again, we just take it one step at a time and take the information as it comes and try to make decisions the best we can. In the end, it wasn't a trade that came to fruition." So he's not denying that they were, obviously they were shopping him. They want this the hell out of their lives. Are you kidding me? Poor David Culley. I know there's probably no love lost for Titans fans for the Houston Texans head coach, but this man, I watch his press conferences sometimes. He's pretty animated. Like, he seems like he's a good quote. Now, how much information he's actually giving is a different matter entirely, but I feel so bad for him. He's a first-time NFL head coach, and this is what he's stuck with.
He's the only sympathetic figure in this whole thing.
I would say so.
No one's feeling bad for Jack Easterby.
No, not the mad preacher. Not the it's still so ridiculous to me that there's an NFL franchise that's run by Bill Belichick's former team chaplain. What is that?
Joel Osteen in a football office.
Do you think do you think that Jack Easterby would have let flood victims into his giant church the way that Joel Osteen didn't?
Not a chance.
Man of God. Okay. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on this story. But the Texans can't trade Deshaun Watson now until the start of the league year. So he's on their roster until at least March 16th. There are complicating factors that could prevent the trade from ever being completed at this point, which is obviously the first of 23 lawsuits that were filed against Deshaun Watson, of course, as you are well aware, accusing him of sexual assault, inappropriate behavior during massage sessions. It has been documented at some great length. 22 of the lawsuits are still active. There was one that was dropped after a judge ruled in April that the plaintiffs needed to amend their petitions to disclose their names. So now, with all of this swirling around, they have been trying to get rid of this guy for some time so that they weren't stuck with, because now this is going to be a storyline for the Houston Texans until March 16th of 2022. That's a disaster for them. And they can't kick John McClain and all the other Houston media out of training camp practices early because the league already told them to kick rocks on that. Because the league doesn't care whether they, like we talked about in the first segment, the league doesn't care whether it's good PR or bad PR. It's PR, and talk about our football teams.
And so they tried. They tried to kick him out.
Yeah, they certainly did. Not putting any numbers, like pulling a Vanderbilt, not putting any numbers on the back of the jerseys. They have to earn their jersey numbers. It's just so stupid. Anyway. So, according to Barshop, there's a handful of teams that were interested in Watson initially after the trade, after the desire for him to be traded became public. Dolphins, Broncos, Panthers, Niners, Eagles, and the mighty Washington football team. Once the lawsuits came out, obviously, all this falls through. Now, in the 2 weeks before the trade deadline, that's when you started to see the Dolphins start to bubble up to the surface again. Wednesday morning, their GM, Chris Greer, the GM of the Dolphins, called 90% of the rumors false. So there is, and here's what I'll say. I don't believe anybody for the Texans right now. I don't believe anybody for the Dolphins right now. Because if you're willing to even consider trading for this dude still, after all of this stuff is slinging around, you don't get to hold any kind of morality over my head, Chris Greer. You don't get to dismiss whomever is reporting on this situation because you don't like the way that it sounds out loud. It's better discussed on private phone calls in dark rooms deep in the bowels of the facility of the Miami Dolphins. And when it's come to light and it makes you look like a bleep hole, there it is. So what happened with this, as Barshop is reporting, there was an opportunity for settlement talks with Deshaun Watson and these women. 22 women that are suing him and are now saying that settlement talks between the two sides broke down before the NFL's trade deadline because of language Watson's legal team insisted they include in non-disclosure agreements. We will maintain innocent until proven guilty. But if you're innocent, what do you need the NDA for? Why do you need 22 of them? Whether it's as severe as what's been reported or what's been alleged, you don't ask for 22 non-disclosure agreements unless you're Derek, to invoke Derek Jeter's name again on the show today, unless you're Derek Jeter giving out gift baskets to women who you've been romantic with, or Tiger Woods. 22 non-disclosure agreements is where this thing fell apart. And if you're Deshaun Watson's camp and you're trying to maintain innocent until proven guilty, and until such time as he is proven guilty of, some, if not all, of these allegations and of what he's being sued for, I look at this and say, man, Tony Busby, who's that a Houston attorney who breaks all his news through his own personal Instagram page, is a genius. I should try doing that more often. Perhaps my Instagram following would be better. In what was submitted to us, Busby writes, there were non-disclosure agreements, and many of the women pushed back on those. He said that in an interview with a Houston television station, Fox 26, on Tuesday night. So Watson is asking for NDAs from these women so he can settle, he can move on with his life, and they can't talk about him anymore or what happened anymore. It's completely, to me, it just starts to make Watson look more guilty. Now, we are not here to try him in the court of public opinion. We are not qualified to do so. It's why every time there's even something remotely legal that we have to try and wade through, I'm not smart enough to do it. It's why we call our buddy Dan Lust. Dan is literally always there. And Dan stays sending me DMs about things that are happening with Jeremy Pruitt and what's going on with Deshaun Watson and every other legal situation that could possibly impact local Tennessee sports, which is I appreciate because he helps me follow these things. But we are not going to try Deshaun Watson in the court of public opinion. But that's not going to stop everybody else from doing it. And now that you have this information out there that you were requesting NDAs, and if somebody in the listening audience has a legal background and thinks that I'm mischaracterizing that, I would hope that somebody would that somebody would call in and make sure that we're on the right track with this. 615-737-1045. And then there's all kinds of wretched things being said in the YouTube chat right now, which make me very, very upset that people would look at this that way. Dallas Elfman, I'm talking to you. I'm not going to read that comment because that's gross. Be better than that. And my question, you can go look at our YouTube chat for yourself if you want to see what he's talking about. But the principle should be half the men. I'm just going to read it because I think it's important to have that perspective. Dallas Elfman writes on YouTube, I bet half the men in this country wish they had the money to have NDAs on the women they've been with. LOL, you're never going to keep a girl's mouth shut when you do stuff like that with them. I don't know what your romantic life is like, Dallas, but I can tell you that I never once, I certainly don't in my life. And I'm certain that half the men in the United States of America aren't wishing that they had NDAs for whatever they're doing with women in their spare time. What a ridiculous thing to say. That's the kind of opinion that makes this just a terrible conversation to have. Because, I appreciate Dallas for voicing his opinion publicly. All I'd say to you is I mean, you've just written that in a public forum. I don't necessarily know that I'd be proud of that, even if that's the way you think. But there are plenty of people who think that way. There are people still screaming that this Deshaun Watson situation is a witch hunt. And I cannot for the life of me understand how you look at 22 lawsuits, previously 23, and say, yeah, this guy didn't do anything. I don't know how you can have that mindset if you're not even just the least bit intellectually curious about what's happening there. It's just a ridiculous thing. I mean, it's just a ridiculous way to think about this conversation. That half the men in this country would like NDAs for sexual relationships that they've had with significant others or otherwise. That line of thinking makes me sick. And honestly, it just makes me think that you hate women.
Hope your girlfriend's not listening.
Wow. 615-737-1045. Michael in Nashville is up on 1045 The Zone.
Yeah. So, I mean, not really taking either side, but I guess something to just kind of think about with the non-disclosure agreement. If you're going to have to pay that much money, to get these people to stop talking, like, I think you'd want some kind of insurance that, after you pay them that amount of money, you're going to get what you're buying, which is for them not to talk about it anymore.
Oh no,
I think that's just a different perspective.
No, it's a very valid perspective, Michael, and I appreciate that call. 615-737-1045. There's complete. I mean, it's not like there's. I'm not saying that it's not a normal legal course of action. Of course, if you're shelling out whatever the amount of money that Deshaun Watson was being asked to pay over to the alleged victims in this particular situation, that he would not want some insurance if he was going to be financially put out the way that he may have been had this gone through. That's a completely relevant statement by Michael there. I'm just saying that this man, this is why this is still a story, Michael, because he got out there loud, Deshaun Watson did, on his social media channels. And he said, I look forward to clearing my name of any, basically, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, and I'll pull up the statement exactly so I can quote Deshaun Watson accurately, because maybe in this situation is probably not one that I want to paraphrase. But what he is saying, what he said back in April of April 19th is when this statement came out, and I've pulled it up on NFL.com. This is from his lawyer. Today, we answered the lawsuits filed against our client, Deshaun Watson. Mr. Watson has been adamant that he did not engage in any improper conduct, and we strongly believe him. Therefore, the answer to the question of whether we are saying that all 22 plaintiffs are lying about the allegations of sexual misconduct by Mr. Watson is a resounding yes. That doesn't sound like somebody who would need an NDA. I understand that there are legal protections in place that the NBA affords the accused party. But again, the strength of that statement. Today, we answered the lawsuits filed against our client, Deshaun Watson. Mr. Watson has been adamant that he did not engage in any improper conduct, and we strongly believe him. Therefore, the answer to the question of whether we are saying that all 22 plaintiffs are lying about the allegations of sexual misconduct by Mr. Watson is not just a yes. I mean, it's a Coach Mac hell yes. You don't get out there that strongly if you think you're guilty of something. To ask for a non-disclosure agreement after the fact implies that there is something in there that you don't want out. 615-737-1045. Our guy Gorilla's in Houston. He wants to talk about Tony Busby.
What's going on, Buck? Give me 1 second, baby.
No, you got it, stud. What's up?
Hey, Buck, check this out, man. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Okay, check this out, Buck. This is when I want the Nashville think tanks and individuals here to understand. I was represented by Tony Busby. Tony Busby is crooked as a barrel of snakes. Tony Busby, man, he wouldn't have no problem finding 50 women to line up because I've been to a few of his little side parties. I don't think Deshaun Watson did that. If you understand Houston and you know Houston and what's at his disposal, listen to me, my man. If you can give a female in Houston, Texas, I'm just being honest with you, a certificate to the turkey leg hut, she's gonna sleep with you.
Well,
In
I don't know
Houston,
about that,
Texas,
Gorilla. I don't think that's a fair statement. And I'm not from Houston. I don't want to have a conversation like that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like cutting people off because I like people's opinions to be heard. But that is inherently, I mean, that is such a blanket statement about women in the Houston area. And I appreciate all of our listeners, but that's not an opinion I can tolerate. I'm sorry. That's just wrong to accuse that widespread, an entire city, an entire population, and an entire sex living in that city of being that kind of thirsty. I can't get on board with that. I simply cannot. John in the Borough's up next. John.
What's up, buddy? Sorry, went under an overpass. Here's my thing. I don't know if he's guilty. I don't know if he's innocent. I don't have all the evidence, and I'm not going to pass judgment. I'm like you. I'm not going to pass judgment on it. I'm going to wait until everything's out in the open. But here's my thing. At this point, in his mind, he's got nothing to lose in terms of there's already a section of people who think he's guilty,
yes,
no matter what, and they're always going to think he's guilty,
yeah,
no matter what. Those 22 people could come out and say unequivocally, we were lying, and they would say, oh, he paid them off secretly under the table. There's also a section on the other side of the foot who, like the previous caller, are going to say, there's no way he's guilty. There's no way he did it. You know, so at this point, he might as well just cover all his bases with NDAs and hey, look, we'll settle. You know, let's all move on, whether he did it or not. And sometimes it's best just to settle.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, John. It's complex, right? I mean, it really is. There's a lot there to parse through. Now, I hope that this is why the radio show being on video now is kind of problematic, because we can be talking about serious subject matter and somebody can say something in the YouTube chat to make me laugh, like Ron Slay just did, and the optics of it are horrendous because Slay just gets in there in the chat and be like, hey, the turkey leg hut's good as hell. Slay, read the room. What are you doing? Speaking of 3HL, Dawn Davenport's going to be on. She's gonna want to fight me at 12:20. So we accused her of being a bandwagon Braves fan. Lucas lied to me and told me that she's from North Carolina, when she's basically born like a block from the Braves stadium. So, and she's also on the sidelines for Tennessee and Kentucky this week. Damn it, Slay. That's such a bad look for me. Now I want an NDA against Ron Slay for the crimes that have just been committed against me on this radio show. When we come back, we'll pivot to some Titans talk. We'll take your phone calls as well, 615-737-1045. The thing that I came out of that Colts game thinking about Ryan Tannehill was he may not be 100%, and he still may not be 100% against the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football. But you know what happened yesterday? An injury report came out. Ryan Tannehill wasn't on it. You're going to hear from the Titans starting quarterback coming up next, and we'll decide whether Ryan Tannehill at this point in his career is capable of shouldering a heavy load in the absence of Derrick Henry. That's on the other side. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Live interaction with other listeners while watching your favorite Zone shows. It's 104.5 The Zone TV live on YouTube and Twitch.
I feel like I'm here to tell the truth and be the voice of the people, man. And a lot of people in that call, you did the right thing and walked that guy back. But what I pulled out of it was, man, the turkey leg hut, like that reference, dude, that brought back so many memories, man, because everybody know in the South you got great food. Turkey leg hut, hey, listen, Buck, that line, no lie, is at least from the front of the station all the way up to the stop sign of that street every time. And you can't make reservations, dude. The turkey leg is phenomenal. So, I don't know what the man was talking about, but when I heard that, all I kept thinking was, boy, man, you can dress it up. You can put all kind of dressing on the turkey leg. Man, and I'm going to be honest.
How much of Ron Slay? No, hang on. What? Damn it, Slay, 1 second. How much of Ron Slay's life revolves around food?
Oh, my God. That's what I'm doing right now, bro.
I'm looking at a picture.
Where are you right now?
I'm going to text you guys exactly where I am. I am in the kitchen right now. And see, I am phenomenal at making pancakes.
Oh. Little pancakes at 10:47 in the morning, Slay.
No. Buck. You know, so either you want me to listen to your show, Buck, or take my nap. So in order not to take my nap, I'm up cooking my pancakes. I'm going to eat breakfast now. See what I'm saying? See how that works out for both of us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your support, Slay. I'm glad that we could keep you awake in time enough to make pancakes. I've just received a picture via text of Ron Slay's pancake breakfast.
Good looking pancake.
Look at that pancake.
Oh no, it's perfect. Also, lovely countertops, lovely range stovetop. You look like you have a very nice kitchen, Slay. Get the hell out of here. Don't give me any more comments about turkey leg dressing and how you're going to dress up your food for the turkey leg.
It's not just dressing. I'm looking at a picture of a turkey leg covered in mac and cheese. A mountain of mac and cheese.
Man. Hey, listen, man, I'm telling you right now. That man went a little too far, but if you give me a certificate to come to the turkey leg hunt, hey man, I might do some little tricks outside.
God.
I need an NDA from this conversation. Ron Slay, 3 to 6 on 3HL 104.5 The Zone. Get him out of here. We got Ron Slay turning tricks for a turkey leg covered in mac and cheese. Are you kidding me? What am I supposed to do with that, Lucas? Where am I supposed to go? I'm sitting here trying to have a conversation about one of the most serious stories for 6 months in sports. I got Slay tweeting or texting us pictures of pancake breakfast at 10:47 in the morning.
Brent Doherty just texted me saying, tell Slay Kentucky's going to win. We've got Dawn Davenport in hour 3. It's a 3HL takeover.
Oh, my God. I can't deal with these people. Those three in particular. They wear me out. All right. Ryan Tannehill, shall we? I don't know how else to do a hacky sports talk radio transition from one topic to the next. I'm disoriented at this point. Ryan Tannehill spoke to the media yesterday, and Ryan Tannehill's situation without Derrick Henry is going to get a lot more impactful. Defenses no longer have to respect the Titans' run game quite the same way. Now, that may be to their detriment. We don't know what it's going to look like on Sunday night with Deontay Foreman, with Adrian Peterson. And, in fact, I've been told that Adrian Peterson will not speak today. He will speak tomorrow. So we will have to wait one more day before we are graced with the vocals of AD at the podium for the Tennessee Titans. But Ryan Tannehill was asked about what it's like to actually, let me stay right here before you hear from Ryan Tannehill. I don't want to transition back from Tannehill to turkey leg talk, so we might as well get Lebowski out of the way. You're on the air, bud.
Okay, good. I can't never tell. See, you go to me with a cold open like that. But, look, I've already ruined your Twitter timeline for the week, so let's take it a little bit further. I had to dig up and retweet out that abomination of a turkey that you tried to cook 2 years ago. And here's the thing. There's a lot to put out there because Ron, like I said in chat, it's my spirit animal of food. I get it. Someone can mention a restaurant and a serious topic like that. It completely derails my day as well. But I want to put this out there publicly. Buck, I'm willing to teach you how to cook a proper turkey, and we can do this on video
so that everyone knows that you can be an accomplished cook at this point. So just look, the offer is out there. If you want me to teach you how to cook a turkey, I'll do it. Offer stands.
Rack 'em. Lebowski's right. I tried to kill me and Dara a couple of years ago with a salmonella turkey. I had no idea how to make a turkey. It's the first time I've attempted to make a turkey.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, you saw the salmonella turkey?
Yeah, because you reposted it like 2 days ago.
It is. He found, this is why Lebowski is the best and both the very, very worst. He found a tweet of mine from 2 seasons ago, 2 years ago, Thanksgiving, because I don't go home for Thanksgiving, right? Titans have practice on Thanksgiving, and they practice on Friday. So you know what? I'm working. Dara doesn't go home anymore. She likes to stay and give me some company, so it's not just me and the cats and a salmonella turkey. And you know what has happened since that turkey that almost gave us food poisoning? We go out to eat on Thanksgiving every year. Where?
Yeah, you get like a Thanksgiving dinner out, or you just go to any restaurant?
Well, we have no, I don't even like turkey. I don't know why. This was some kind of like I'm going to prove to myself that I can do this, and then of course I very, very quickly found out that I cannot do this and I don't want to do this. And the whole reason that I make money for a living is to pay people to do the things that I don't want to do. It's just so now we go. I mean, no free ads, but we go to Oak Steakhouse for Thanksgiving dinner now, so that I can avoid all things turkey, all things Thanksgiving, all things cleaning up the mess, and so I don't have to deal with it anymore. I would rather have somebody else in a restaurant make me what I want for Thanksgiving dinner instead of sticking to turkey and mashed potatoes and all this other stuff that I don't. Why, mashed potatoes are fine. Turkey's overrated, wildly overrated. I'm told that deep fried turkey is a different conversation entirely, and perhaps we'll take a show field trip to the turkey leg hut when I travel down to Houston for week 18 for Titans and Texans this year. When we come back.
Sounds like you really keep the spirit of Thanksgiving Thanksgiving.
I don't decorate for holidays. I don't like to clean. I don't like to put it out there. I don't have the storage space for decorations. I don't want people coming to my door on Halloween. I don't want to deal with it. Dara hates me. My girlfriend actually hates me.
Yeah, you're a hermit.
Yeah, I mean, it's football season. I don't have time for this crap. I got a million different things to do. I'm talking into a microphone for 5 hours a day, and the rest of my time is spent working and watching football and talking about football and interviewing football players, and on and on and on it goes. I don't want to go out and go pumpkin picking. I don't care about the pumpkin. I'm not going to do anything with the pumpkin, and all somebody else is going to do with the pumpkin is take it off my porch and smash it in the street. Holiday decorations are the worst. Or maybe I am. When we come back, we'll talk about Ryan Tannehill. I promise this time. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
The Titans have a big test on the national stage Sunday night against the Rams. Kickoff is Sunday night at 7:20 on your flagship for Titans Radio, 104.5 The Zone.
the past 5 years.
If you were a
Is
holiday,
grouchy
which
Mike
one
Vrabel.
would you be?
Mike, what's your favorite Thanksgiving side dish? I'll hang up and listen.
Doesn't affect me one bit.
I swear to God, it's really a sad existence. Like, I wouldn't trade my job for anybody in the world. I love my job, but oh my God, I'm not really a big, large, because Lucas is yelling at me in the break, because we've gotten DMs from people. People are DMing me on Twitter. People are sending me DMs on Instagram being like, man, my mom will make you a turkey. You don't have to go out for dinner on Thanksgiving. No, I appreciate the offer. Thank you very much, but I want to go to a nice steakhouse for Thanksgiving dinner. I got Larry Leathers, the former SID at Vandy, texting me, you trying to get the Leathers to invite Buck and significant other to our Thanksgiving feast? Actually, I would love to spend Thanksgiving with Larry Leathers. That man is a gem, a treasure, and a Nashville staple. So I will have to hit Larry back during the commercial break, and we'll see if we can't make an appearance at the Leathers family feast. But yeah, I'm not like a big family function person anyway. Like, I get hugely uncomfortable at gatherings where it's like cousins and like aunts and uncles who you see once a year and you're having the same conversation with them that you had last year when you saw them for the holidays. Like, that stuff doesn't do anything before me. And I'm complaining about this during the commercial break. Lucas just screams at me, why don't you let people be nice to you? I don't know. I'm sick that way. Speaking of sick, I don't know how to make that into a transition. I don't know whether Titans fans are going to be sick against the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football or not. I honestly have no idea how this game is going to go. I know that I'll be there, and I know that the Lee Company countdown to kickoff starts at 4 p.m. Central Time, live from L.A. So we'll cover it. A football game will be played, and the results of which we have yet to see. All I know is the Rams are a really, really good football team. I know that Adrian Peterson, who is going to speak to the media tomorrow, is going to play a role in some way, shape, or form. I know that Deontay Foreman is going to have a crack at this thing as well. I also know that neither of them are technically on the active roster as we sit here today. So the only running back, given the Kari Blasingame is still at this point unavailable to them, the only running back on the roster that's going to play snaps for them, Dontrell Hilliard, I guess. Did Niles Davis do anything for you? No, it's the McWeapon. McWeapon is the only running back on the active roster who has been with this team for the last couple of months at this point. So at some point they'll have to bring Peterson and Foreman up. But in the meantime, the burden falls on Ryan Tannehill. And he was asked about this yesterday, what this means for him specifically, and whether he is physically prepared, physically, mentally, all of the above, ready to carry a heavier load without Derrick Henry.
Yeah, we'll see what shakes out. You kind of approach each week independently, and I want to do whatever it takes to win. So if that's throwing the ball more, then that's throwing the ball more. If it's running it more, then it's running it more. So I just love winning football games. So whatever it takes to win and to give our team the best chance to win, that's what I want to do.
So what do you expect him to say, right? He's not going to get up on the podium in front of all of us and be like, yeah, it's going to be tough without Derrick. I don't know, man. Of course not. They're going to L.A. with the intention of beating the Rams. And by the way, that should be your mindset as well. It's shocking that I have to tell Titans fans that. Look at me, the guiding beacon of optimism. You kidding me? You're not just punting on this game because Derrick Henry's not playing. Don't be ridiculous. So now the burden falls on A.J. Brown. It falls on Ryan Tannehill, on Todd Downing, on Julio Jones, who was a limited participant yesterday but did practice. Positive steps. Mike said they would have to see how Julio responds to treatment on a day-to-day process at this point to try and make him available as soon as humanly possible. And God knows they need him. But in the meantime, you're going to hear from Greg Cosell of NFL Films on how teams are going to play the Titans differently without Derrick in the fold and with this new backfield that they have at their disposal. 615-737-1045 is the number. Ralph is in Clarksville up next. What's up, Ralph?
Hey, how's it going, Buck?
It's going great, buddy.
All right. Well, first things first. I came back home. I'm originally from New York City, but I've spent most of my life in Tennessee. About 3 years ago, I moved down to Houston, Texas. I just moved back to Clarksville a few months ago. So the first thing I want to tell you is, when you get to Houston, and I'm with you on turkey, sometimes I think it's overrated, but you definitely want to go to the turkey leg hut.
Okay.
I mean, they got turkey legs, man. They stuff them with shrimp Alfredo. They've got Hennessy glaze. It's outstanding. So you're gonna love it. But Buck, let me tell you, you got to get there early, because if you don't, you're gonna see one of the longest lines for turkey, if not the longest, you've ever seen in your life.
Okay.
But you'll enjoy it. By the way, I got back home 3 months ago. I didn't know anything about any changes in the lineup at the station. But I get in and I find it, man, I'm home. One of the things I want to do is go back to 104.5 The Zone. But it's about, I don't know, 11 o'clock in the morning. I turn it on. I hear this voice. Who is this guy? He must be filling in or something. I mean, I never heard of it before. But I was like, hey, man, I'm liking the flow that's going on. Okay. I love the voice, too. It's one of those voices that belongs on the air, right?
Oh, you're kind, Ralph. I appreciate you, buddy.
Well, all of a sudden I said, well, this Buck Reising show. I was like, Buck Reising? Who are you? Okay, well, listen, I just wanted you to know real quick, Buck, you got a new fan here, a big fan right here. Listen to the show every day. Lucas, great job. I enjoy the rapport between you. Last but not least, the Titans. Followed them so hard. Originally a Giant fan, but I'm Titan up all the way now. Of course, the news was big. Derrick Henry gets hurt. But the thing right now, as you were saying, what was Tannehill supposed to say? So we have to find out now, because we've seen at times where Tannehill was the driving force in some of those drives, like in the Jet game, where he moved the team, literally willed the team to score. Now he's going to have to do that. We need Julio. At some point, Julio's got to get healthy, because like you said, somebody's going to talk about how you're going to play the Titans now. There's no more 8 and 9 in the box. You're going to let these guys run the football.
Yeah, Ralph, I hate to stop you there, but we do have to get out of here for Elijah Molden, the Titans rookie corner, who's going to join us coming up next. But yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how defenses now play them and what opportunities result of a fact that you won't see loaded boxes anymore and what that may present to you in the running game. So we'll talk about that later on in the show. Elijah Molden, though, up next.
It's a Thursday night matchup between the Colts and the Jets. Coverage starts tonight at 7 on your home for Thursday night football. 104.5 The Zone.
Molden joins us now before he hits the practice field. Titans rookie corner. What's up, stud?
How y'all doing?
Man, we're great. We're living just fine on this Thursday. Your highlights keep running on SportsCenter in my studio in here, and it's got to be a cool feeling to see how often that pick six is popping up. Even though I know it was a team effort, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one who got the touchdown.
I try and stay off all the media and whatnot, but I've gotten a fair amount of texts and all that stuff. But yeah.
No, stop it. You mean to tell me you haven't watched SportsCenter once to see you pick off Carson Wentz?
I saw it on Twitter or something, but really, like, outside of football, when I go home, I don't really be turning on SportsCenter like that. You know what I mean?
Okay. See, this is such a foreign concept to me because that's my entire life. I have it just basically downloaded directly into my skull. So we talked to you after the game on Sunday in Indianapolis, and it was a great play that you guys made collectively as a defense. You guys have found your way into making more turnovers, into causing more disruption. I know that turnovers aren't necessarily something that you can all the way game plan for, but how much of what the coaching staff has you guys doing on a daily basis has you prepared to capitalize on those?
Yeah, I feel like with turnovers, you can't necessarily force it to happen, but you can be prepared for when the opportunity comes. And you know, we practice different things in drills before team periods and whatnot, especially like those type of situations with the ball in the air, going up and getting it.
So I don't remember going back and watching your film at Washington. I don't remember seeing you get beat for touchdowns a lot, and then obviously you come out as a rookie early on in the season, and a baptism by fire, trial by fire, whatever you want to call it. Since then, it seems like you've really, really found your footing. And I know now is not the time to be reflective. There will be time for that after the season. But are you just more comfortable at this point?
I feel like it's just learning a new technique. You know, we played man different at Washington just because of the different rules and regulations in college, and now it's different. You know, now you're pressed on the slot, and that's different than playing off 4 or 5 yards. So just getting used to that and understanding kind of how the offense likes to attack the defense. That's helped out a lot.
So that's a spacing thing in college versus the pros, right? Just where the hash marks are and how much less of the field that you have to defend at that point.
Yeah, that and the fact that, you know, quarterbacks now can make every throw. So, you know, playing things from top down and understanding where you can and can't get beat.
When Elijah Molden, Titans rookie corner, here with us on 104.5 The Zone before he hits the practice field. Sunday Night Football against the Rams coming up this week. When you came into the league, is there a habit that you had either on or off the field that you realized after watching some of the vets and talking to some of the guys and getting with the coaching staff at this level that you've been doing that you need to change or you needed to be doing something differently as you've kind of just described?
I mean, nothing in particular. I think it's all, you know, I think technique from all across the board can be brushed up week in and week out. There's nothing in particular, you know, talking about, you know, my footwork and man or my zone drops or trying to punch at the ball during the tackle. It's kind of all, you know, it's a pretty broad focus.
So obviously a West Coast trip coming up, you'll have family. Will you have family in attendance at the game on Sunday?
Just friends, and then my fiance is going to make the trip too.
That'll be awesome. So I mean, at this point, it's not a normal thing for the Titans to be playing this many primetime games. But I know you don't look at the standings. You're probably not looking at the standings anymore, and you're looking at SportsCenter. But I mean, this is how much have you relished these opportunities with this franchise? I know when we last talked to you, you had very much committed to the idea of playing to the Titans even before you knew they were going to draft you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, in terms of playing on Monday nights and these primetime games and stuff, it seems surreal, just kind of the idea of it. But then once you're really in the situation, it's a normal type of situation. You know what I mean? So it's not something where you don't want to get too caught up in the moment.
I mean, it's easy to say, I imagine, Elijah, but I can't imagine not getting caught up in the moment, man. Like that just. Obviously, what you guys do as professional athletes is completely different from what the rest of us do on our day-to-day. But have you found yourself having to like compartmentalize in real time to not have this all sweep over you, or is this just is this just every day?
No, like you said, it's easier said than done. I'll find myself sometimes like being overly anxious on a play or during a series, and then I'll kind of go back to the sideline and regroup myself, and then that's when I really start to settle into the game and kind of let the game come to me as opposed to trying to make things happen.
So the opponent on Sunday is this high-powered LA Rams offense. Matt Stafford's making it go this year at a level that we haven't quite seen from them, or at least not since they've been to the Super Bowl. They love to run empty sets, Elijah, and I'm wondering what kind of pressure that puts on you as a defense, because I don't imagine, and maybe I'm speaking from ignorance here, but I don't imagine like you guys have a ton of defensive plays specifically to combat empty formations. What does that kind of do to you in the secondary?
We have different checks and whatnot, so we're prepared for the situation, and it's nice whenever they do go in empty with Matthew Stafford. They're going to protect him. They're not going to run too many quarterback run plays. So every time they get an empty, it's going to be a pass. So that's nice to know.
What are you trying to say about his mobility?
I mean, his pocket presence is up there with the best in the league right now, and he's been doing it for so long. So that's definitely one of his strengths.
No, he's incredible. Obviously, they played him last year here in Nashville when he was with the Detroit Lions, and he put on a show there too. I mean, I feel like Matt Stafford, now that he's with the Rams, all these no-look passes and crazy throws that he makes that people talk about Patrick Mahomes making. I mean, Stafford's been doing this for a decade. How much do you guys notice these things on film that just seem otherworldly, and now more people are paying attention to it?
Yeah, I feel like everyone in the league has known what he's been capable of for a long time. It's just he was on a different team and in a different system, and now he's kind of getting the recognition in the media and whatnot. So it's not that much of a surprise, now, especially when he's got great weapons around him.
No, it's just us vultures who are slow to catch up and pay attention to all the great things that he's been doing. Elijah Molden, Titans corner, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So, Elijah, obviously, the biggest story in sports is you guys this week, it seems, with Derrick Henry not being available. And I know that there's pressure in every situation, and it's next man up no matter what. But, I mean, does that change at all the approach for the defense, understanding who won't be there for you guys on the other side of the ball?
I mean, as a defense, we really approach it the same as we do every week. Obviously, what happened to him is devastating, and it hurts not having a player like him on the field. But I can't speak so much for the offense just because I let them do their own job from a defensive perspective. We really just focus on what we can control and the plays we're running and the offense that we're going to go against.
It's 11 on 11 either way on Sunday Night Football in L.A. Elijah Molden, kind enough to take some time. Continued health and success, Elijah. It's been a lot of fun to watch you in your rookie season, and we'll see you on Sunday night.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Elijah Molden, kind enough to take some time here with us on 104.5 The Zone. He is going to do impressive things with this Titans defense, and he's really just getting started. This is somebody who came into the league and, as we talked about, had a little bit of a baptism by fire. I mean, when he came in the first 2 weeks, he's facing Kyler Murray, and we all know what the result of that game was, and then Russell Wilson, and twice had scoring strikes go over his head. He at one point got benched as their slot corner, and now he's coming in. He's playing at a high level. He's in sync with the rest of that secondary. And it's been out of necessity, right? They've been banged up. But also, it's been incumbent upon him to earn those opportunities. And he has done so with flying colors. He's an incredibly impressive individual. And now I start to sound like an old person because Elijah Molden's like 22 or something like that. And it's been a couple years since players coming into the league have been younger than me, and that's been something that's difficult for me to cope with. But I continue to be impressed with his presence and the amount of dedication that even before he got drafted, Mike Vrabel, you don't see Mike glow about individual players that often. But when we met with Mike after they drafted Elijah in the 3rd round out of Washington, I mean, this guy came in specifically preparing for his interview with the Titans, having done more diagnostic work on their defense than any other team in the league. He wanted to play here well before he got drafted because he knew it fit what he does. And to see it kind of come to fruition right now, and to see in an area where they desperately need help in that secondary. Chris Jackson didn't practice yesterday. Greg Maben, who's been playing sneaky great ball opposite Jackrabbit, did not practice yesterday. So this secondary will be strained against just a great Rams offense. It's going to be a fun game. I honestly think it's fascinating from a matchup perspective. And what we'll talk about, or what you'll hear from Greg Cosell on, is exactly how teams are going to change their approach against a Titans team that, at least on the offensive side of the ball, going to look a little different on Sunday. 615-737-1045 is the number. Will is in the Borough up next.
Hey, guys. So I just wanted to say something quick. And Titans fans, just listen to me. Hear me out. I think it was great. I don't think it was great that Derrick Henry got hurt, but I think it was great that the injury that he had, because ultimately, Coach Mack said earlier today on the other show, the NFL has a 100% injury rate, and I'm glad he did that instead of blowing his knee out and being gone, and potentially just messing up, his career, for years to come. So I just, if anything was going to happen, I think that injury was a good one to have. But, yeah, I'll let you guys talk and, talk on that. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for the call, Will. So I understand what he's saying, right? The injury itself is horrific because Derek does so much and means so much to this franchise and to you as Titans fans. But if it had to happen, and none of these things have to happen, but there's a high percentage chance that they will because of the nature of what these guys do on a daily basis and just getting into car wrecks on every play and 300-pound dudes trying to, take you out at the knees the way that Derrick Henry does. They made it through their most difficult stretch. Now, this game against the Rams is going to be this is going to be the toughest team all around that they play all year. I told you guys last week that I thought that the Colts game on Halloween was going to be their biggest game of the year. In fact, I thought it was going to be the best game of the weekend. I think it ended up being. Packers-Cardinals pretty good. But Colts-Titans, 1B if Packers and Cardinals was 1A in Week 8. But given what Derek had happened to him and how much that could potentially, as the caller pointed out, derail him long term, and what Will Compton pointed out yesterday, I was wildly impressed with Will Compton yesterday. I don't say that very often, and I kid, of course. I love Will, even as I'm uncomfortable with the fact that he tells me he loves me every time he hangs up on the radio show on Wednesdays. But what Will said about how he went through the Jones fracture. Now, he's a linebacker and Derek's a running back, and this was while Will was in college, and obviously this is a different level of the sport. But the timeline that Will laid out and what the medical recovery process was like, it's not like it's drastically changed since that happened to Will Compton. In fact, Lucas has that clip. So why don't we run that back to give people context? Because Will's appearances are always fun, but I thought this might have been his best. He's turning into an actual media analyst. I'm so proud.
I broke mine. It was, like I said, the Thursday before our season opener. And that's when Levante David got the start. I had a funny little tweet series the other day about how Levante David started to get his shine, and then I no longer had a job when I came back from my injury. But I broke mine right before Week 1, and I was back playing again Week 6 versus Texas. I was a little limited in that game. Like the issue is, and I don't know all the protocols that they're going to do with Derek, but based on my experience, what happens is when you get back to playing, because it's non-weight bearing, he's basically going to have to stay off his foot. It's going to be 100% treatment-based, and then he'll have to do like upper body conditioning and then a lot of conditioning things with training to keep his cardio up. But he's going to be non-weight bearing because it's a bone. The bone has to heal and grow back correctly, especially if there's a screw in there. If there's a screw and everything, like everything has to heal correctly. You can't put weight on it. You can't manipulate how the bone might grow at all. You can't work it out. You can't do any of that stuff until you can bear weight, which happens around I want to say maybe week 4 or 5. And then as you get into jogging and doing things, like when I was playing against Texas and I believe Oklahoma State weeks 6 and 7, I was wearing a metal plate in my foot, in my cleat, to keep my foot from bending too much. Because, again, there's a screw in there that's trying to heal with the bone. So, obviously, movement stuff stimulates bone growth, but, when you're coming back playing, I had to wear a metal plate. I don't know if that's going to be the case. That was however many years ago now. I don't know how much better everything's gotten with a broken foot. But, yes, I was back in 6 weeks. Again, I was limited. I was feeling a lot better around week 8. I know that's they say 6 to 10 weeks. It is becoming more of a normal thing now. So I do think there's hope for the King to be back come playoff time.
It's the best Will Compton's ever been. It's great context for the recovery process and kind of the week-by-week changes that somebody with a Jones fracture experiences. Again, different positions, but still professional athletes. So it'll be curious to see because it sounds like Will Compton's leaning more towards Rap Sheet's timeline than Adam Schefter's done for the season. We'll just have to see. 615-737-1045. B in Nashville is next.
Hey, what's up, Buck?
What's up, stud?
Not much. Yeah, I wanted to call in. I keep on hearing everybody talking about Derrick Henry being out and our season over. It's steady going. Everybody worried about it. I feel like really this is Tannehill time to get the connection with the receivers that we've been missing all season. I feel like this is going to be Tannehill time to prove why we gave him all that money, even though he proved it last year. He's going to prove why we gave him all that money and how good Julio and AJ is. And I also wanted to add on to what the caller said earlier about your voice and everything. I've been listening to the show since, I think it may have been the Monday of the week before we played the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Maybe. And, yeah, man, you do a great show. You and Lucas, man. I love y'all show. I done start listening to everybody's show now. I'm a FedEx driver, so I listen to it at work. And, yeah, man, you got a great voice and all. I was like, man, he welcome to the cookout. The next thing you know, I go to the zone chat. I was like, man, I know why he hates the Titans now, because he look like Andrew Luck, man. So I calling you Andrew Buck from now on, man. Man.
Go ahead and rack him. It's true. I hate. That's the worst. I don't hate anything in this world. Now that I've said it into the microphone, that's all I'm going to get. Because you know who started that? Mina Kimes. Mina Kimes, who is now multimedia superstar all across ESPN's platforms. Mina Kimes. So it might have been my first week or month with A to Z Sports. They had saved me from the perils of my previous employer. And I have friends that work at ESPN. I was, at that time, it's been, I don't know, I was probably 20.
Of the draft?
The draft, the 2019.
2 years ago.
Is that only 2 years ago?
2.5.
God, that feels like an eternity ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, COVID happened between then.
Yeah, COVID feels like 10 years. Anyway, so 2019 NFL draft in Nashville. ESPN's got their full complement of talent here, right? ABC's here. ESPN is here. And my buddy Jason Fitz texts me and is like, hey, we're doing this live stream draft show. It's going to be me, Mina Kimes, Dominique Foxworth, and Mike Golick Jr. You should come by and talk Titans. I'm like, I haven't even done a live stream show for A to Z yet. You're going to put me in front of literally, I think 2 million people were watching that show live. And it gave me, I've never had that kind of anxiety in my life. I was miserable. This was the week Dara and I started dating. And she thought that I was an insane person. That I needed to be physically medicated because I was so angsty. And so I get out there on this full ESPN set, right? There's 20 staffers. And they are, I'm getting mic'd up. I'm getting wired up. They're in the middle of the broadcast, and they say, all right, go get them. And I'm like, I just got to walk out there on the set, sit down, and talk about the Titans. And I can do that. I've been doing that my entire professional career. But, this seems like a tall task. And so as soon as I get up there, I've never worked with Mina. I've never worked with Golick Jr. I know Fitzy. But the first thing that Mina says to put me at ease is has anybody ever told you look like Andrew Luck? In front of a full crowd of Titans fans. And since then, for the last 2 years, my mentions have been absolutely flooded with the resemblance that I bear to the Colts quarterback who carried an undefeated record against the Tennessee Titans, Andrew, I don't know what his middle name is, Luck. I hate it. Andrew Luck is, I'm sure he's a lovely man. In fact, he seems like an incredibly well-rounded individual, and I hope he's having a great retirement. But Andrew Luck is a fairly homely-looking individual. I think my hairline's better. I think my beard is better. And I think that maybe people have been complimenting my voice today. I get a little bit of Chris Collinsworth in me. I don't know about Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck sounds like he's got a nasal issue, like a sinus issue all the time. 615-737-1045 is the number. So that's the backstory on the Andrew Luck. When we come back, we'll take your calls. We'll talk about this Rams defense, news on Von Miller that came out yesterday, and how it relates to his availability for Sunday Night Football against Tennessee. We'll tell you what's happening with that. Coming up next, you'll hear from Greg Cosell as well, and your phone calls. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Are you one of the lucky ones who don't have to return to the office and get to permanently work from home? Well, then permanently every day. Make sure you say, Alexa, play 104.5 The Zone.
Men, we finally got a month for us. It is officially Men's Health Month.
1220. I'm sure we'll fight. I'm sure we'll have a great time. And I want to ask her about what Brent McMurphy just tweeted about Dan Mullen, because that is something. And we will save that for the noon hour for those of you who are preparing for the Vols to return off their bye week and smack around the Tackle Cats, as they well should, honestly. Is Tennessee favored right now? I should probably look at the line before I say that.
-1 last I checked. It had moved.
Huh. -1. So Tennessee -1.
Yes, Tennessee
That's
favored.
basically a pick 'em.
Yeah.
Well, wait. Are they?
Well, it's on the road.
Okay. So that. Okay. Interesting.
It started out Kentucky -2.5 in that neighborhood, and it's moved.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a pretty interesting game, and one that I think Tennessee can win. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. We've been talking about this Titans and Rams game, and what happened yesterday was there was a variety of tweets from LA media about what Sean McVay was saying about Von Miller. Now, of course, Von Miller, who is now a member of the LA Rams, is one would assume that he's going to play, but I don't necessarily know that that's a safe assumption. At this point, Mike Vrabel did a call with LA reporters. I wonder how he did with the LA media, because I'm looking at Lindsay Theory's Twitter timeline right now. She's the ESPN Rams reporter. Titans coach Mike Vrabel, on a call with LA reporters, says that the team has been engaged so far this week despite the loss of Derrick Henry. Hopefully we can understand and be disappointed for Derrick, but we've never really felt sorry for ourselves. All right, Mike. Rally the troops. But Von Miller spoke to the LA Rams media yesterday as well, and basically said that being traded from Denver to LA has felt like a movie. He gave a "life is like a box of chocolates" reference. Von Miller's a great quote, but at this point, he is on the injury report with an ankle. He did not practice yesterday. Sean McVay told the media out there that it is a situation where they're very banged up at this point, and says it's to be determined whether Von Miller will play Sunday as the Rams get up to speed with his ankle. So, obviously to not have Von Miller out there would be beneficial for Tennessee, but it is going to be something that defenses are going to look to play the Titans a different way, no matter who the defense is that they're going up against them. So I asked Greg Cosell about this yesterday on the install, what life is going to be like for the Titans and going against various teams, particularly this Rams team, in a Derrick Henry-less offense. And this is what Cosell had to say. All right, we'll wait for Cosell. It's been a while since we've done one of those where I've tossed to Lucas when he's not ready. Cosell was really good on it. You just let me know, buddy, when you got it. All right. we haven't had it. It's like one of those accident reports in a workplace. It's been 100 days since I've thrown to audio and it's not been ready.
Yeah, you caught me slipping on that one.
It's okay. It happens. It happens to the best of us. We're back to 0 on the clock. But basically, what the Rams would do if Von Miller were to play is that they would not have Von Miller and Aaron Donald on the same side of their defense, right? They're going to make you have to adjust your protections for both of those guys, and you just can't. You're going to create one-on-one matchups for somebody. So Aaron Donald is going to be on one side of the defensive front. Von Miller is going to be on the other side, and that creates those opportunities for one of those dudes to make a play when they're one-on-one. But for the Titans, how teams are going to look at them without Derrick Henry is going to be interesting. And this is what Cosell had to say.
How will the Rams play them, and then how will teams in general play them? We know how teams played them with Derrick Henry. The goal every week was you needed to stop Derrick Henry. You needed to structure your defense from an alignment and personnel perspective to stop Henry. You needed to get a ton of bodies to him. You needed in some ways to give up to get. And to me, defenses will not do that anymore. Defenses could well take the approach, you know what? If you want to line up in the I formation with a fullback and hand it off to Deontay Foreman, have at it. You know what? We'll tackle Deontay Foreman. We'll be good to go. We don't need to put extra people in the box. We don't need to structure our defensive front alignment just to do that. You know, we'll play how we play, and we'll take care of your backs in the normal course of events, you know, with what we normally do tactically. And I think you're going to see more of that. I don't think teams are going to make, a strong decision to say, hey, we better shut down that run game or else.
So this is going to be interesting. Now, then the question becomes, well, how up to speed are the other running backs, right? Because how difficult is it to get a running back up to speed? Now, it helps that D'Onta Foreman has played in this offense previously. Now, I know it's different, Arthur Smith to now Todd Downing, but Vrabel was asked about this yesterday, and when it comes to getting the running backs up to speed, apparently the learning curve is not as steep for a running back as it is for an offensive lineman. So Mike Vrabel at the press conference was asked about this, and this is what he had to say about getting this new backfield ready to rock.
Well, Dontrell did that last week. He came in, met with Tony. I've mentioned that. You just have to put extra meetings in, pay attention and focus. And, I think for some positions, there's probably less learning. I think, it's not like it's an offensive line where there's a lot of stuff, or a receiver where now, there's a lot of vocabulary that changes and formations are called something different. So hopefully we can get these guys brought up to speed quickly.
Well, I have no choice. Quickly or not, there's a game Sunday night. Either way. Now, maybe you buy yourself a couple extra hours because it is the last game of the evening or of the day. But I feel it's weird to say that I think they're in a pretty good spot. And I don't know why I feel that way, because I shouldn't. But I've had people for, years at this point tell me how little the running back position actually matters. And I talked myself out of that because Derek is so much different than any other running back. But now I'm kind of looking at it like, I think they can kind of do this with this piecemeal, if you want to call it, backfield. And again, I don't think Peterson's going to have – I bet Adrian Peterson doesn't get more than 10 total touches. I'll say if you're asking me over under 10 touches for Adrian Peterson on Sunday, I'm probably betting the under. I think that D'Onta Foreman's going to see a lot more of a workload, and I think that McNichols will still be the third down back. We'll see how it goes. 615-737-1045. The man, Darrington, is up next.
My guy,
what's
Andrew Austin Luck.
Is it Austin or Austin?
Austin, Austien.
Okay.
Yeah. You should know your middle name, Buck.
Sorry.
But anywho, hey, I get what you're saying. You mentioned that line, but you can't forget Leonard Floyd, who Chicago gave up for Pickles, which I still don't understand. And that, because of Aaron Donald, he's having a great year. Now, I can also say, besides the Buccaneers, who have the Rams really beat? Kind of like that Buffalo situation. My next, Tennessee, everybody say, okay, it's going to be a pass thing.
My dude, your phone line sucks today. So I got most of your point though, because it's an interesting conversation about who of the Rams played. Now, listen, they beat the Buccaneers by 10. Like they beat Tampa. I mean, they were at home, but they beat Tampa by double-digit points, and that was with Tom Brady throwing for literally north of 400 yards. Brady went crazy in that game.
I think if you're 7-1, you get to the point in the NFL where you stop playing the game of who have they beat, right?
I mean,
you're just good.
We're at the part of the season where the bad teams are starting to look worse, but I mean, again, you've only had one loss on the season, and until last Thursday night, it was against the best team in the sport, the previously undefeated Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals beat them by 17, and that was also in Los Angeles. But I mean, far be it for Titans fans to throw stones at the Rams for losing to the Cardinals the way that the Rams lost to the Cardinals. They've beaten the Bears, the Colts, the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Giants, the Lions, the Texans. So it's not murderer's row, but still. Like it is going to be more closely matched than I think people are making it. And that the line at this point would indicate, because according to DraftKings, I've got the Rams as 7.5-point favorites. I would bet the Titans if I was betting on Titans games. I, of course, do not for ethical reasons. But when we come back, we'll pivot to a team it's been a while since they've seen the field. We'll talk about a team that was projected to not even get to 7 wins, much less 7 points. as a road underdog. We'll talk about the Tennessee Vols and their game coming up against the University of Kentucky on the road this weekend. Dawn Davenport will join us at 12:20 as well because she's going to be on the sidelines. And she also has a bone to pick, shockingly, with me. That's up next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Coming up today on the 3HL.
It is the weekend eve. Is that what I call Thursday? Friday starts the weekend? Yes, the weekend eve. We got tons of football to talk about.
Yes, and who better to do it with than Greg Cosell? He'll break it all down. How does this offense change without Derrick Henry on the film? Tail of the tape.
The tail of the tape. This would read Ron Slay 6'6". Psych. That'd be Ramon Foster. That's my brother Savage Life. We'll have him in the building. That's what his reads.
Let's do it,
Slay
and
6'8".
let's talk to Jason Swain about Tennessee and Kentucky. Right, Slay?
Yep, we got to, because Kentucky's going down.
We'll see.
No,
we'll do it.
See, I'm telling you.
Be there.
What you need to see.
Be there.
I'll be there.
Today, starting at 3 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
Company countdown to kickoff that starts this Sunday at 4 p.m. ahead of Sunday Night Football with yours truly. And I know that we have some people who are still wanting to weigh in on the Titans. So before we pivot wholesale to Vols, Kentucky, let's go to Terry in Nashville up next.
Hey, Buck, how you doing today?
I'm great, buddy.
Hey, my take on the Derrick Henry situation is that, you know, the last couple of games he's had 50, 60 yards, didn't even break 100, and McNichol played and all that kind of stuff. And I think our game is going to be okay. I feel pretty comfortable about it now that the defense is stepping up and playing what they're supposed to play. I think we're going to be okay. I mean, I don't even know if L.A. I don't know who teams they played. I don't know much about them, but I don't think they played that high quality of opponents, to be quite honest. So.
Hey, thanks for the call, Terry. So, Derrick, here's the thing, though. It's not necessarily about Derrick's production, right? Because Derrick, and he had a broken foot. What Derrick did, he had a couple clutch runs in that game, even if his yards per attempt was not all that great. But again, you will do him the benefit of saying, I mean, the guy played basically 4 quarters because it happened in the first quarter, and that game went into overtime, and they played well into overtime. They had a couple of possessions for each team. But Derrick, it's not necessarily about his sole production. It's about the way that he makes defenses play the Titans, which opens up opportunities for other people. Yes, he's capable of breaking yards and having clutch runs. And you're correct. I mean, he had his worst 2 games in terms of average rushing yards in the last 2 weeks. Averaged 3 yards per attempt against the Chiefs, 2.4 against the Colts. He had 86 yards on 29 attempts against Kansas City. He had 68 yards on 28 attempts. 28 attempts is insane. For Derrick Henry on a broken foot. But it makes the defenses play you more honest, right? They have to load the box because their first and foremost objective is to stop Derrick. And with Tannehill now, they're going to play this. They're going to play this team. It doesn't mean that you can't still be competitive and win, but it does mean that you're going to get a lot of different looks, and something that attracted the defense's attention is now no longer at your disposal, or defenses aren't going to respect your running game the same way, which creates less opportunities for the passing game if the running game isn't close to what it has been.
I mean, the touchdown pass against the Chiefs, if that's Chester Rogers in the Wildcat, do the Chiefs sell out that much to stop the Wildcat run on that touchdown pass?
Nope.
No way.
Nope. It's his impact. I mean, it is, you can physically quantify it, but in some areas you can't. And what you can't quantify is how much defenses must, first and foremost, when you know you play on the Titans, you know that your objective on the defensive side of the ball is to stop Derrick Henry. All right, let's talk about the Vols. Been a while. They've been off for a little while. I don't know why that feels like such a long gap between games, but it does feel like an eternity since the last time we've talked about Tennessee.
Well, the Titans have played twice since the Vols last played.
Maybe that's what it is. I think that's what's throwing my internal clock off just a hair. But now you will have Tennessee return to the field. In fact, they'll play in the unfriendly confines, the intimidating arena of Kroger Field.
They should name sections like a grocery store.
What, like the frozen food aisle?
Like not the student section, the produce section.
If they, I mean, I'm sure Kentucky football takes itself entirely too seriously to do that. But if I was running Kentucky football, which thank God I'm not, that's absolutely something I would do.
Kroger would love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm also the same person who tried to get our poll question sponsored by a strip club, and for all the good that did us. 615-737-1045. My judgment may not be the best in this regard. So let's talk about the Tennessee Vols, shall we? So this game is going to be winnable, and it did not feel quite as winnable when the Titans, when the Vols last took the field, or at least since last we saw Kentucky play, because the way that Mississippi State handled them on Saturday And I watched that game in its entirety, not just because that's Tennessee's next opponent, but because I had money on it. What is happening right now? Ooh, Aaron Rodgers is approaching the podium right now. That's probably an interesting press conference. He does not. Oh, does he have prepared comments? Is that what's happening? We're going to have to keep – Lucas, maybe turn it up in your studio. Oh, no, it's okay. I don't know.
It's clips of him coming up to the podium without a mask on.
Oh, I'm like, oh.
They're showing the highlights of him
Are
walking
you
up
kidding
to the
me?
podium.
Damn you, ESPN. I'm like, oh, this is actually
It did look like he was about to just lay it down.
Oh, my God. He looked like he was getting ready to, make his State of the Union. They're just showing highlight reels of him coming to the podium maskless. I'm pissed. I was so ready for Kentucky, Tennessee analysis, and ESPN has just completely derailed the proceedings. Or maybe it's my attention span. I don't know. Maskless highlight reel is not something I was prepared for today. Anyway, so how did Mississippi State make Kentucky look mortal? Well, turns out they're not very good at throwing the ball. We asked Michael Felder of Stadium that question yesterday, and apparently the key to that was controlling the time of possession, and for once in their life, Mississippi State running the ball.
I mean, the biggest thing, everybody's going to talk about the points that they score, but those points, they scored 14, 21 points off turnovers. They really they stacked the box and tried to make Levis throw the ball. They made him throw the football, and he can't do it. And they're not a team that's going to win if they have to throw the ball a bunch.
So bad on those interceptions.
Once you get down, now you have a problem. And so the big thing for me, they neutralized Rodriguez in a pretty big way. He wasn't able to be a consistent first down getter. Even though he picked up some yards, he wasn't a consistent first down getter. And I think that's the big problem that they had. And when you turn the ball over, and then you have Kentucky. You have Kentucky, a Kentucky team that is rooted in their defense, and they do play some nasty defense. But when you stretch them vertical and horizontal, the spaces in the zone that they play become a lot bigger. And when those spaces are bigger, your quarterback can hit his spot, and that's what we saw Rodgers do. We saw him hit his spot. So I definitely think that this is going to be a very – and they ran the ball. Did you just notice how much Mississippi State ran the ball?
I was shocked that a Mike Leach offense came out swinging that way.
Yeah, that's the other part. So they're stretching you vertically down the field, which means you're backpedaling out of there on instinct. You've watched a ton of film of them you've watched their last 4 games. Going into this weekend, if you're Kentucky, you've watched their last 4 games. You know they don't run the ball. And so you should be backpedaling and getting to your zone to check crossers, to chuck crossers, to pass crossers off. You should be doing all those things. And then they were like, you know what, let's flip the script. We're going to run it a little bit. And they ran it, and they had big success running the football. I was like, what is happening? But that's good that's a good job of going off tendency for Leach.
So Mike Leach threw him a bit of a curveball, and Kentucky simply wasn't equipped. And Will Levis, when he is required to throw the football and when their running game is neutralized, Kentucky is a much more easily managed offense at this point. I thought it was a great observation by Felder because Will Levis threw 2 interceptions in that game that I thought were god-awful when he had guys open or really passes that he shouldn't have been making. He's shown that, and against Georgia, I mean, Kentucky's offense was just, at least the passing game, thoroughly constipated. His yards per attempt in that game were so poor. I mean, Will Levis is, and for all the highlight reels of him eating bananas, full peel and all. That's all well and good. And their running back is actually very, very talented. He's one of the better ones in college football.
He's the second leading rusher in the SEC this year.
Right. He's nothing to slouch at or shrug at. But at this point, what teams have required Kentucky to do or have forced Kentucky to do is throw the football. And turns out they don't do that with much efficiency. Will Levis's stat line against Georgia is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever read. Okay, let's play a little trivia, shall we? Before we welcome Dawn Davenport into the proceedings for her to probably cuss me out. How many attempts do you think Will Levis threw? Let's start there.
Against Georgia?
Against Georgia.
Oh, Georgia, the way that they stifle the run, I'll say 20 because Kentucky was down in that game.
42.
Oh, my God.
How many do you think he completed?
20.
32. For how many yards do you think that Will Levis, throwing the ball 42 times, how many yards in college football in 2021 do you think Will Levis accumulated?
121.
192. Thank you for lowballing me and ruining the finale on that.
And to be honest, 30-13 against Georgia is not something to be ashamed of this season.
No, but it's only because Mark Stoops knew that we were all betting Kentucky in that game.
Backdoor cover.
Damn you, cover quickly. Georgia's a lot of fun to watch play defense, except when you have money on the other team. Then it becomes a risky proposition. You know what else is a risky proposition? Bringing Dawn Davenport on this radio show. She's going to tear into me. You're not going to want to miss it. That's next.
Mickey Ryan knows that there's nobody in media better on the Titans than his partner, Blaine Bishop.
It's not even a question.
And even the hitman agrees. What? Blaine and Mickey, today from 1 to 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
between Tennessee and Kentucky at mighty Kroger Field. Dawn Davenport joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, friend.
What up, clown?
All right.
What in the actual hell are you doing? Because all of a sudden, I wasn't actually listening to your show yesterday.
Rude.
Because I had an appointment. I normally do listen to you, even though I disagree with many of your takes.
No, it's not like you wait until afterwards to tell me. You just berate me during the show, which is how I know you're listening, which is why I love you.
Yes, I do, and I always text you. So anyway, I get all these tweets about you calling me a front runner fan.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
How did this all come about? And then there's a poll question about it, which, by the way, your boy Lucas came in yesterday. Sorry, Lucas, I'm throwing you under the bus.
No, I did. This happened.
Yeah, he said, hey, I just want to let you know that was not my poll question because we all know Lucas puts the poll questions out. He was like, Buck did that. I said, oh, did he?
No.
Did he really?
That's not true.
He did that without doing his research is what he did.
Well, I
Who
typed
physically typed the poll,
I typed out
Lucas?
the poll, Don, but
Liar.
Well, okay, Buck asked
Coward.
Buck asked me your
Fraud.
Braves background, and I didn't know your Braves background. I said, I'm pretty sure you were born in North Carolina, right? Because you're a big Duke fan.
No.
No, I was born in Texas, but grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, Peachtree City, Georgia, just south of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a Duke fan because my father graduated from Duke.
Ah, yes. Okay.
So Lucas's fake news is why we put the poll question together, because I had no idea that you were a Braves fan. I saw Brent Doherty congratulating you and all of his other Braves friends. It's like I don't think I've ever heard Dawn talk once about Major League Baseball, much less at the Atlanta Braves, but that's just negligence on my part. And so now we've accused you of being a front runner. And I have no regrets because now it's great content.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great content proving that you just don't do your research sometimes. I mean, like, let me go ahead and give you the lay of the land.
Uh-oh.
Like, I was a Braves fan growing up when they played in Fulton County Stadium. Like, I moved to Peachtree City in 1991. I don't know if you remember, but
I wasn't born in 1991, Dawn, so no, I don't.
Oh,
Neither of
no,
us
you
were.
don't.
This show did not exist. This entire show was not born
We
in
weren't even
1991.
thought of in 1991.
Oh my gosh, I hate every single one of you. So let me refresh you. This is where all the Braves they're gonna, choke and not finish it. This is where it all started because from 1995 to 2005, which is exactly the time where I was a Braves fan, they won the NL East for 10 years straight and only won one World Series in that entire time. So that's where your disgruntled postseason Braves fan kind of comes from, and that is me. So yes.
Oh,
there you go.
so
I
you're
mean,
so you're just
Yeah.
disgruntled in Braves fandom and not anywhere else? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
that is true. And you don't need to comment on that at all.
Dawn Davenport of 3HL is our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. More maybe hostage is the better way to put it as opposed to guest, but either way, we're always grateful for Dawn's presence. So this game against the Wildcats for Tennessee, it seems infinitely winnable, Dawn. And I watched the Mississippi State game over the weekend while I was in Indianapolis. I was shocked to see Mike Leach come out with the approach of running the football, and then defensively, they made Will Levis need to throw. They were very effective in shutting down Kentucky's running game. They seemed a hell of a lot more mortal on Saturday than they did maybe 2 weeks ago before Kentucky played Georgia.
I did, and they were. I agree with you there. They did. I will say this though: Will Rogers played his best game I've ever seen him play, and I've covered him a couple of times since he's taken over there at Mississippi State. I mean, he was phenomenal, and I saw him earlier this year against Memphis, where he was not phenomenal. So it certainly helps when Rogers is not missing and is almost in the zone there. And you're right, Kentucky looks beatable. I will say this, they lost to Georgia, then they had a bye week, then they come out and lay an egg and get their butt beat by Mississippi State. This is a very hungry, let's get it right now Kentucky team. So I feel like just everything kind of went wrong for them in that Mississippi State game too. Chris Rodriguez, their running back, they weren't able to run the ball. He's still averaging 6 yards per carry, even with their struggles last week. And he, from what I'm hearing, is practicing 100% healthy, finally good to go for this Saturday game. Now, he's had some fumble issues, had 5 fumbles last week, 2 of them lost, and that has been a problem with him. I actually talked to a couple of his teammates already this week, and because I'm like, how is he mentally? You fumble that much, it gets in your head, then, psychologically you got issues because you're the guy that can't hold on to the football. And they're like, no, not at all. That's not him. He's going to be fine. He's in a good place. The energy at practice, everybody on this team is in a good place. You talk about Will Levis. He gathered the team around right after that loss to Mississippi State. He put it all on himself. And yes, those were bad interceptions, bad. Put it all on himself, was like, don't desert me, let's go. I feel like mentally this team is in a very good place to say, hey, what better way to get it back than against a team that we hate and a program that we hate, because this is an underrated rivalry that people do not talk about often. Kentucky and Tennessee, these teams, these programs, they hate each other.
Oh,
it's underrated from a rivalry standpoint. And Levis has really focused on his footwork a lot. He went back, he watched video from earlier in the season. He's compared that with his practice video to this week. He felt like his footwork has been off. That has been a big focus for him. So we'll see if they can get it going again. But yeah, they've got to run the football. And here's the deal. We talk about Tennessee's defense, and it's all positive talk because, for a while they led the nation in tackles for loss. They're, way better than I think anybody expected them to be this year. And it's impressive. Don't get me wrong. Tim Banks is legit. It's impressive. But they still gave up over 1,100 yards to Ole Miss and Alabama. I mean, and I get Alabama and Ole Miss are kind of different levels offensively, but they still give up a heck of a lot of yards, right?
Oh, and not just yards,
you
but
can't look
points.
over that.
They're giving up 26.5 points per game. In fact, that's really the only place, Dawn, where I look at Kentucky just at a glance and see them being statistically superior, is Kentucky allows just 20.8 points per game, and Tennessee is giving up almost 27. Everywhere else, though, the numbers favor Tennessee, and I understand that football games aren't won on stat sheets and that box score scouting is negligence. In fact, I yell at people for doing that all the time. I just look at this. And think that provided that Tennessee, you talk about health, provided that Tennessee has taken the opportunity on the bye week to try and get themselves as healthy as humanly possible, given how thin they are, I still feel pretty confident about Tennessee's ability to go into mighty Kroger Field and win.
Well, and here's the deal. You talk about Tennessee getting healthy. That bye week came at the perfect time, especially for that offensive line. And now we don't meet with Coach Heupel until Friday. So I haven't talked to the coaching staff for Tennessee yet, but it seems like that offensive line is healthier, and that's huge because this Kentucky defense is absolutely 100% concerned about the tempo that they're about to see from Tennessee. And I talked to some of their players. I said, what is name a team where you've seen this tempo? I mean, Tennessee's running 3 plays a minute. Name a team that you've seen this kind of tempo. I got 2017 Missouri, which I'm pretty sure Heupel was the OC there, right?
Yep.
And then 2020 Ole Miss. So it's not like you've seen this tempo often, a lot. And this Kentucky defense is struggling to force turnovers. Like you talk about what they can do in stopping the run and giving up just 20 points a game, all of that, but they cannot force turnovers, and the Kentucky offense is turning the ball over like no other. I mean, they're minus 12 in turnover margin, and a 6-win team to be minus 12 in turnover margin is crazy to me. So I think this is my take on it. Who knows? I think you're going to see this fourth quarter, what's going on in the trenches, who can kind of out-physical the other team. This is how Kentucky-Tennessee games usually go and this rivalry goes. Watch the tempo and how it affects this Kentucky defense because it's a concern. It is a concern. And Tennessee with a healthy line, finally, watch out.
Lucas, I'm going to betray a confidence here because he just whispered in my ear as you were wrapping up your point. I love Kentucky. That you can't say that as a Vols fan. Are you out of your mind?
I love Kentucky.
Why do you love Kentucky?
Because in the last, what has it been, 15 years of despair for Tennessee football, save for 3 seasons, Kentucky's always there. Kentucky's always there. 3 times, Vanderbilt has beaten Tennessee more often than Kentucky since the 80s.
So you love Kentucky because they can consistently hold
They're
that
always
L.
there. Now, last year was terrible. Garantano threw back-to-back pick sixes, and then they took him out, put in J.T. Shrout. He literally threw an interception on his first play, his first pass attempt. It was a 34-7 beatdown in Neyland Stadium. But before that, it was 2017 when Butch Jones was on the outs, and most Tennessee fans were essentially rooting for them to lose, whatever it would take to get him fired. And then 2011, Kentucky beat Derek Dooley with the receiver at quarterback that they put in there like the day before. Other than that, they're the saving grace, right? 2018, 5-7 Tennessee, year 1 under Pruitt. Best team in modern Kentucky history comes to town, a 10-win team. 24-7. That game was 24-0 in the fourth quarter. Was a total beatdown. They're always there. I've always loved the Wildcats.
Take a breath, buddy. It's going to be okay.
My God. And that is exactly why this rivalry is so heated too. Now, hey, you might say that. I mean, Kentucky they've won 2 of the last 4?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, so history maybe, Lucas, but
no, he's out here crowing, Dawn, for no reason. No good reason.
Well, they haven't won back-to-back since the 70s. So I know this is a huge game.
Yeah, 76.
Yeah, huge game for both teams because Kentucky has this chance to make history for the first time in decades. And for Tennessee, I mean, the difference between 6-6 and 7-5, massive in year 1.
So get this, like I talked to a Kentucky player who is from Ohio, and I was like, people don't get this rivalry, do they? And he said, no. Like Ohio State, Michigan, that is a huge rival. He was like, I tell people back in Ohio that this Kentucky-Tennessee rivalry rivals that. Oof. That's how important it is to these players, to these programs. It is underrated. Like Alontae Taylor, I talked to him. He's like, you know those NFL Films games where it's like snowy and cold and the old school football and guys are bleeding and it's just like this hard, smack them in the mouth kind of football game. He was like, that is Kentucky, Tennessee every single year. It's going to be like 27 degrees. Who's the most physical team? Who hits harder? Who outlasts the other? That's what I expect on Saturday night, and I love it.
It's like there's no better rivalry other than Dawn Davenport versus Buck Reising. I think that we are the Kentucky, Tennessee of the 104.5 The Zone on-air staff.
Bring back the beer barrel for both of those rivalries.
All right, relax. Settle down back there. Go put on your orange-colored glasses. Take a breather. Go smoke a cigarette. Whatever you got to do, Lucas. Relax back there.
I'm Lucas's version of Tennessee in the Buck and Dawn rivalry.
I love that you think that way. Dawn Davenport of 3HL here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So with that being said, Dawn, and this is I delight in this game as well because it's the one thing that I share. I probably have more things in common with Tennessee fans than I realize, but I don't think anybody hates Kentucky the way that Indiana fans do. So this is what I am actively rooting for Tennessee in a way that is clear and obvious to everybody because there is not a school that I hate more in my life than the University of Kentucky.
My gosh, you sound like my husband. I'm married to an IU grad, and that is what Ron Slay calls it Kentucky. Yes, that is what my husband has always called Kentucky. Well, I'm like, we are neutral this weekend. Your wife is working this game. Come on. But yeah, IU people, no, you guys do not like Kentucky.
No, we despise them with every fiber of our being. So speaking of despising other athletic programs, Florida, Dawn, have you been paying attention to what's going on? I assume that you've been paying attention to what's going on with Dan Mullen.
What a debacle.
It's hard to. They've shut down all their media this week.
Have you
That's
seen?
Crazy.
Did you see what Rick Neuheisel said on SiriusXM today about Dan Mullen going to the NFL potentially?
No, I heard you tease it, but what did he actually say? Because I had heard that Dan Mullen was interested in the NFL 2 years ago.
Yeah, Lucas, go ahead and read her the tweet if you would.
Yeah, Brett McMurphy put it out. Quote from Rick Neuheisel, I know Dan and I like him and respect him. If he gets an NFL chance, I think he'll take it. I think he's tired of this, talking about what's happening at Florida right now.
Okay, that's not that big of a deal to me because I've thought this for 2 years.
Why
He doesn't like the recruiting part of it.
Oh, that's clear.
He doesn't like, I mean, he'll never say this, but this is just my take and it's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't be tweeting Davenport says that Dan Mullen told her. No.
It's too late. I've already done it.
It's been
Dawn.
tweeted.
I've already
Right.
done it.
No, but my opinion is, and let me say this, college football is a freaking hard job to have right now with the transfer portal, with trying to keep any kind of depth, quality depth whatsoever. This is a tough freaking job right now. Recruiting, helping to mold kids, trying to convince kids that you're there to develop them and get them to stay. It is a tough job right now. Dan Mullen, I can see why he would want to bolt to the NFL because of the recruiting piece of it, of the lack of keeping depth, all of that. College football is a tough job right now. I had heard 2 years ago he would be interested in moving to the NFL strictly because of how kind of recruiting in the game changed.
Well, maybe he can go and join the New York Giants staff with Jeremy Pruitt and Derek Dooley, and when the Giants lose, they can Joe Judge can make Dan Mullen run laps alongside Pruitt and Derek Dooley, which is just a delightful
well,
visual.
Pruitt ain't never coming back to college after his stuff, that's for sure.
No, and I very much look forward to whatever mud he's going to try and sling at the University of Tennessee just for the drama of it. There's always drama when we bring Dawn Davenport on because of the nature of our relationship, but she is always here to make us smarter while scolding us in the process. Dawn Davenport, 3 to 6 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone. The show is, of course, 3HL. And there will be a lot more disclosed about this game, I'm sure, throughout the course of their shows this week. Also, Cosell is on with them this afternoon as for his weekly hit, so you have to listen to that. It's must listen every time. Thank you, Dawn.
No doubt. And y'all's podcast. I enjoy that as well. All right, clown. Have a good day.
Always a pleasure, friend.
Sorry for not knowing you were born in North Carolina.
No, don't be a kiss ass now. It's too late. You've already blown this.
You threw your host under the bus, Lucas. Look at that. All right, boys. See ya.
Goodbye, Dawn.
Go.
What did she say? Go what? I don't know what she said. She hung up on us.
Go Braves, I think.
Oh, go Braves. Well, now that she's gone, I can stay. She's a bandwagon again. Polls next.
The Titans have a big test on the national stage Sunday night against the Rams. Kickoff is Sunday night at 7:20 on your flagship for Titans Radio, 104.5 The Zone.
Dave McGinnis with King John Reed, previewing these two games between the Titans and the Rams, and, of course, Tennessee traveling to Kentucky. I'm looking forward to seeing what goes on there. As far as Titans practice is concerned, we didn't really get a chance to talk about it today, and I'm sure we'll spend more time on it tomorrow with Coach Mack because nobody knows this Rams defense better than Dave McGinnis, and he's been great on it all week long. But some things that I'm interested in monitoring today, given what the Titans injury report looked like yesterday. Nate Davis not available due to being in the concussion protocol. Chris Jackson and Greg Maben both dealing with injuries that kept them out of practice yesterday. Greg Maben did not play. Blaine and I were just talking about this for basically a good chunk of the fourth quarter and overtime. He's been sneaky good opposite Jackrabbit. This secondary cannot afford any more attrition. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Christian Fulton will be back, right? He'll be back. This has been 3 games and so on and so forth. But he's not even been cleared to return to practice, much less activated to the 53-man roster. So things could change. They could do it as late into the proceedings as Saturday. But I would be cautious about assuming that Christian Fulton is going to be available, even though he has satisfied the 3-game requirement. Until he is designated to return to practice, which is the first step before he can be activated to the roster, I would kind of keep an eye on that situation as they start to lose, or as they have lost, more pieces in the secondary. It's not ideal, especially when you're going against the Rams. But again, I have this weird feeling that the Titans can keep pace with them, and I'm not somebody that you come to for homeristic optimism. In fact, I think I'm probably more on the opposite side of things than anything else. Hell, we had somebody call in and ask me why I hated the Titans so much. But that's a conversation. Well, I don't hate the Titans. I used to hate watching the Titans as somebody who covered them, but that was a long, long time ago, and we're many years removed from exotic smash mouth and 12-9 overtime games against the winless Cleveland Browns. Polls.
I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Because the polls have closed and the votes have been tallied, it's time for a poll update. And he's a good boy. Buck Reising show producer and correspondent, Lucas Panzica.
Are bad NFL stories good for NFL business? 61% say no, as I watch SportsCenter talking about the NFL investigating how the Packers have handled this situation with Aaron Rodgers. 39% say yes, which is the correct answer.
Surely people can't. 61% say no, it's not good for business? Guys.
What did we talk about more yesterday? The Braves winning the World Series or Aaron Rodgers testing positive for COVID?
I had some fun at Will Bowling's expense, noted Braves fan, because I told him, I'm not talking about the Braves World Series win today. Aaron Rodgers just tested positive for COVID. I was joking, but also nobody else talked about the World Series yesterday. Not at any great length. Maybe in Atlanta, that was all that was discussed, but I mean, their football season doesn't matter, so why would they want to talk about the NFL?
Jay Miller says, yes, not PR, but business, absolutely. But even then, with the Henry Ruggs situation, that's not bad PR for the NFL because the NFL did everything. They put things in place to prevent that from happening.
Correct.
That's bad PR for Henry Ruggs.
Yeah. It's horrific. It's tragic. It is disgusting what happened and what foolish decisions, what stupid decisions, what irresponsible decisions led to the losing of life.
Because there were other options that were laid out for him by the NFL. That's why it's such a tragic situation.
It doesn't hurt the NFL's PR in any way, shape, or form. Now, if you want to talk about what's happening with the Washington football team, sure. But Roger Goodell is getting accused of being just an outright liar by the woman who is representing the former Washington football team employees, because Goodell got out there at the league owners meetings in New York last week and said, we're not disclosing this report because we're trying to protect the victims. And the representative for the victims said, no, that's not what's happening at all. And the fact that you would use these women as literal meat shields is despicable. That's the closest thing to bad PR the NFL is getting. And they're not letting the real bad PR get out there. because they're not letting anybody know what was in that quote-unquote independent investigation.
How can the Titans beat the Rams on Sunday? Kenneth says to beat the Rams, they need to score more points than the Rams with the Booger McFarland meme. And then Cedrin replied, said, beat me to it. Back to you, Buck.
That one made me laugh. Back to you, Buck got me. I miss Booger McFarland and the Booger Mobile. For no reason. It was not helpful analysis. It was not terribly useful to have him on the Monday Night Football broadcast. In fact, I recall Jets fans throwing things at the back of the Booger Mobile because those who paid to be in the lower bowl at MetLife Stadium were having their view impeded. That was the highlight of the Booger McFarland Monday Night Football experience. But, yes, to score more points is going to be essential to beat the Los Angeles Rams, of course. But, I mean, turnover differential, getting off the field on third down. I mean, you could say this about any NFL opponent, but more than anything, with the kind of offense that the Rams have, you're never going to rely as heavily on your defense as you are on Sunday night.
Alan says send Chipotle to the Rams facility. Daniel says they need two things to happen. Have the best protection they've had all year, and the defense needs to play like they did against KC and Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to get pressure with 4 in this game, and it has to get there quickly, man. You have to fight. They've been effective. To their credit, they've caused a ton of turnovers in the last couple of weeks after starting the season without them. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. They're being disruptive. And as far as the protection is concerned, Ryan Tannehill, we talked about this on the install, and you can go check out the podcast for more information on what Ryan Tannehill's protection looked like. Dylan Radins wasn't great, but other than that, I felt pretty good about the Titans' offensive line. Roger Saffold didn't play his best game, but DeForest Buckner will do that to you.
Who's more to blame for the Aaron Rodgers situation, Rodgers or the Packers? 77% blame Aaron Rodgers.
You know what? I think it's the Packers. And we didn't really talk about this today at length, and I'm running out of time here, so I'm not going to have time to expand. But I'm a hypocrite for saying the Packers because I spent all offseason when Rodgers wanted more respect and wanted out of Green Bay reportedly, saying that Aaron Rodgers deserved to be above the rules, except when he considered himself above the COVID rules. And the Packers allowed him to openly break NFL COVID protocol without, knowing that he wasn't vaccinated. And now ESPN is showing highlight reels of how many times he came to the podium maskless.
Is there a massive difference for Tennessee between going 6-6 and 7-5? 63% on the last poll of the day say yes.
Yeah, the difference is massive. It truly is. Not just from optics, not just for feel good, but for recruiting. And as Dawn Davenport just told you, recruiting is not an easy part of the gig. We will wrap things up for the week tomorrow. It'll be a good time. Then I'll head on out to Los Angeles. Coach Mack, as we talked about, King John Reed will be here as well. And in the meantime, Lane and Mickey will keep you entertained. Coming up next.
If it happens on Rocky Top.
This is Andrew Bogish with a CBS Sports Minute. Her name is Tina Tinter, and she was just 23